Let's talk about Afghanistan for just a minute. There's a lot of misconceptions about what actually happened in Afghanistan. So, 20 years ago, we invaded Afghanistan to fight the Taliban. And for the most part, it was kind of successful. We ran them out of Afghanistan. They were pushed to the boundaries. And we were on our way to helping Afghanistan build itself into a fairly functional country, right? Or at least it seemed. I mean, that was the surface appearance. But over time, the goal for really 2 decades was to get out of Afghanistan. So when Trump came around, he said, fine, let's get out of Afghanistan and set up a plan to get out of Afghanistan that phased us out to where in the middle of 21, we'd leave Afghanistan. Cool. Everybody was on board with that, right? That was a good thing to do. The expectation was that the Afghan government and the Afghan military would stand on their own. But what happened, and what we didn't predict, and really what we couldn't have realistically predicted and planned for, was that the Afghan government and the Afghan military just took a frickin' powder. The Taliban started moving in and they said, cool, whatever, see ya. So the people on the right, the MAGA people who want to demonize Biden, say, oh, it was a big foreign affairs blunder and disaster and whatnot. And really it wasn't. The complaint is all those weapons, what, $1 billion worth of weapons? However much. Warehouses of weapons were left in Afghanistan when we left. The expectation was, why didn't we take them with us? Well, the answer's simple. We didn't take them with us because we were leaving them to arm our ally, right? We expected the Afghan army, the Afghan military, and the Afghan government to be responsible, to be self-reliant. They weren't. I mean, not at all. Not at all. The Afghan government collapsed in basically hours, right? I mean, it was collapsing as we were trying to get our personnel out, right? And not just our personnel, but the people in the country who assisted the Western Alliance in rebuilding and reshaping Afghanistan. So this wasn't really a failure by the U.S. or a failure by Biden or a failure of planning. This was an Afghan failure. That's it. I mean, that's really it. We expected more out of them than they were willing to provide. As long as we were there, cool. I mean, they'd be independent, right? As long as we were there. But once we left, or once we decided to leave, they had no interest in self-preservation. They had no interest in taking care of themselves. Some of them, sure, but no, not the military. And I will say, not the entire military, because the military didn't fight. They rolled over. Maybe they were afraid of being beheaded. Maybe they were afraid of I don't know what. But it was a complete failure. It was a capitulation that we haven't seen since Saigon fell, right? That's really it. I mean, that's what the deal is in Afghanistan. Afghanistan was purely an Afghan failure. Pure and simple. We had done a lot to build up their institutions, build up their government, build up their education, reform their society. Women had rights, they were westernizing, all that was happening. That was happening in Afghanistan until we left. And once we left and took away the security blanket of having the U.S. there, they gave it all away. I mean, they squandered their entire existence. They betrayed all the women in Afghanistan. Because now all the women in Afghanistan are subhuman, the way Muslims view women. They view women as property the same way the MAGA right, the Christians on the far right, view women. The white nationalist Christians, they view women as property, which is why they worked tirelessly and bullshitted the system to make sure they had enough justices to overturn Roe, because women don't have rights. Women don't have rights on their own. Women have privileges that are given to them by men. That's the way they view it. Because, they're conservatives. They want to go back to, I don't know, the 1200s. They're fucking retards is what they are. But abortion's another video, another rant. But I get tired of listening to use a Samuel L. Jacksonism, stupid motherfuckers who don't understand what they're talking about, but still yap, yap, yap away. They do. And you MAGA people, you maggots, know who I'm talking to. In this situation, if you think it was a failure by the U.S., you really need to educate yourself. You need to look into what happened. You need to reread the articles, and not necessarily the Fox News articles or the CNN articles. Go look at the British press. Go look at Al Jazeera. Go see what they say. Because you'll get better views of what happens in the U.S. and what the U.S. does in U.S. politics and world politics from foreign sources than you do from U.S. sources. It's just the way it is. And it doesn't matter who you like as a U.S. source. You'll get better information, usually less biased information, although there are sometimes the Times Radio, who I love. Love James Hansen, Kate Chabot, love all them. But a few of their hosts and some of the guests they get, especially on the radio part, when it's not a video, it's just, a podcast, some of them are idiots. And we need to get over this idea that we screwed up Afghanistan. We didn't. Afghanistan screwed up Afghanistan. That's it. Peace out.